Hi everyone, it's Isabel here at Bowser Design. Thank you guys so much for visiting my channel. Here on my channel, I have sewing tutorials I'm going to be doing on sharing sewing tips and any random sewing facts or fun things about sewing. We're just going to have fun, all right? So hit the subscribe button so you can stay notified as to when I upload a new video. And those of you who've been following me for a while, thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. Thanks so much for the support. Today, we are going to be looking at the double welt pocket, and I'm going to show you how to do this. A lot of people are intimidated by it, but it is really a simple process. It does require some practice. So come along with me and I'll show you how I do it. So the measurement, and this actually is the size of my actual pocket bag if I were putting this on an actual garment. Pocket bag, I have here 14.5 inches and I have a width of 6 inches. There we go. This is the middle. The lips of my pocket, I want them to finish at 1/4 inch wide. So on either side of the line, I'm going to mark 1/4 inch so that I can create those two lines. Inches. So I go 2.5 inches on either side to get my 5 inches, and I put a mark there on either side. All right, I want to mark on either side of the lines because I'm going to go in on my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch what I'm stitching. I'm going to stitch to these points here, okay? But we'll see that in a minute. So this is the width of my pocket. So whatever the width of your pocket is on your pattern, that's what you're going to use. So I have my 5 inches. So I went ahead and I found the center of that. The longer side is going to be facing up on your garment, okay? So I put an arrow facing up so that there is no confusion when I go to sew or place this on the garment. So we're going to get a pin, and on the middle line, the middle of the two welts, you're going to push the pin through. Now this is the top side of your garment. You have to work on the top side. So you're going to find the middle and you're going to match that up with the middle of the line where your pocket opening will be. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. I am going to stitch from this point on the top line to this point on the top line, and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom line. Use shorter stitches here because 1, it is a small area. 2, you don't want your pocket falling apart and coming loose. We have that middle line here as a guide. So we're just going to pinch the fabric in the mid part of it, and we're going to start cutting. We're going to snip and put it back flat, and we're going to cut through on the line, the middle line. Now when we get, we're not going to cut all the way through to where the pocket stops. You are going to stop at least 3/8 of an inch before you get to the end, okay? I'll show you what you do next. So you're going to stop here 3/8 of an inch where I stopped, and then you're going to go snip to the corner, snip to the other corner, So you form a triangle like so. And you go to the other side and you do the same thing. So you have this, an open rectangle with 2 triangles at the corners. So your next step that you're going to do, you're going to take this, because remember you started on the outside of the fabric, the right side of the garment. This is now going to go through the opening you just created. Now we're going to turn it, the whole garment. So now it's going to be right side facing down until you can get the whole pocket bag through. Okay, this is what it should look like for the most part. Now I'm going to go over to my iron and I am going to press my seam allowance toward the pocket bag, the top side as well as the bottom side. I'm going to press it toward there. Now forms a ridge or the lip for your welt. So you're going to work one side of the pocket at a time. Okay, so you're going to fold this back. Like I said, you're going to use this as a little ridge. So that's like a guide. That's going to help the lip. So you're going to make sure that it gets right to the edge of the fabric of the seam allowance, like so. And for now, we're just going to pin this in place. Pin it along the way. All right. Key point I need you to pay attention to. Remember when we notched where the line would go? When you fold it back, you're actually making like a pleat, and the top of that lip or that pleat should actually get to right where the center line is, where you notched. So all of these things are used as little guides. Okay, so you know pretty much that you're going well. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other side of the welt. And it doesn't matter which one you fold back first, really, it doesn't. So again, I'm using the seam allowance that we just pressed back. I'm using that as a guide. It's going to be my little ridge for the top of my pocket. All right, so I'm using that as a guide to know how far back to fold the fabric. So once it gets there at the end, that's where it is. So again, this should fold and pleat right to the little notch. So you should have something that looks like this. This is now the back side of the fabric, the garment. So we have that folded in. This is what the outside is going to look like. So you see your pocket starting to form. And one thing I want you to note is that you will always check on the right side of the garment to see what your pocket is looking at like before you actually commit to pressing or sewing. Is very important to make sure those welts are even and they line up nicely. So at this point in time, what you will do, you take a needle and thread, your hand needle, and you are going to baste this area down. So about 3/4 of an inch in, gonna go in, and you're gonna not baste too close to, so usually leave a little tail first, and then I go back in the same area to do a back stitch, and that secures it. So again, I'm going to use my fingers to feel. And then I'm going to do another back stitch just to finish. Now, what we're going to do, remember that little triangle we left off at the end when we were cutting? Not left off, but we cut into at the end. This triangle, these two little triangles, because you're going to have two for the garment as well as the pocket bag. You'll have two little triangles there on the end. See? Two. You're going to also, the lips of the pocket would have created a box pleat. Okay? So I'm showing it to you open so that you can see. It's a box pleat. Make sure your both triangles are facing outward. And you're going to go in on the sewing machine, and right at the very corner of the triangle, at the base of the triangle, is where you're going to run just a straight stitch. So you're actually going to catch the pleat of the bag as well as the two triangles. Fold that top part over to meet the bottom part. A stitch right here. Right here, we're going to stitch in the ditch. So you stitch in the ditch here on the bottom part of the fabric, because this is the waist. You only do this part here first. So now you fold your bag over, get your edges pinned. And you're going to flip this. And you're going to stitch your seam allowance all the way around. Next, we are going to create, depending on the garment, I will top stitch right close to the edge here, and I come right there and back down. You can also do a satin stitch in the corners. That keeps your corners very secure. It's not going to go anywhere. As a matter of fact, I will do one side with the top stitch, and then I'll do the other side with the satin stitch so you can see how it's done. And again, I am going to stitch in the ditch across the top. This time, I'm catching the top of the bag. When you do, I have a stitch running right in there, right in there, right in there, which is really not really visible, and it won't be visible once you use the matching thread. So there we have it. We have nicely finished double welt pocket.